All right, we are live. And I want to say that good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all the people here across Canada and around the world. Now, if you're watching this video in Canada, tell me which province, the city you're in. Or if you're watching outside of Canada, tell me what country you represent. None of that matters. Anybody can see me globally. But anyways, I'm going to get on with this topic here. And it has to do with Nordstrom department stores. Nordstrom, the company that had its last year of running in Canada. Last day, that is, 13th of June. What's the last day? Okay. All right. Where are we going to go with this here? All right. Those of you who haven't seen me, I'm here now. This supposedly live stream. Okay. Where am I going to, what am I going to talk about regarding Nordstrom? Okay. All right. Okay, let me start over here. As you know, Nordstrom had its last day of opening this month on the 13th of June, 2 days ago. And I think maybe Nordstrom has decided to pull the plug on its Canadian operations. And very well so. Maybe they weren't having much success here, nor were they selling many items in Canada. Well, think about this. Because of the currency issues, currency differences, most Canadians, if they were to shop in Nordstrom here, they would pay more money for items, for the same items they sell in the U.S. stores. They would pay for more of it and pay more of the costs of items that they sold in the Canadian Nordstrom stores and they sold in the U.S. Nordstrom stores. And it was like this, I think maybe for months, because maybe due to the taxes that we pay, more so than most Americans pay in taxes. And Nordstrom is just another store that basically failed to find its footing in Canada. I think maybe the executives in Nordstrom didn't take into consideration that most Canadians have different shopping tastes, and I think we shop way differently from how most American customers shop. And you think about this, most items that they sell in the United States, they're a lot cheaper, way cheaper than what we sell here. For example, look at the Nike shoes. I mean, they probably cost cheap peanuts in the U.S. and which is less than what they sell here in Canada. Because most Nike shoes in Canada go for about $100 to $120 a pair. And that's a lot of money for a shoe, especially athletic apparel being sold by a popular company that has probably has stores all around the world. So Nordstrom's didn't take that into consideration regarding the shopping taste and shopping behavior of how behaviors, you see. So in US, Nordstrom stores, most Americans, they got the money to spend. Plus, if you look at the population, they have more people down there than they have here in Canada. And also, you look at the dollar. The US dollar is a lot more powerful and worth a lot more weight than the Canadian dollar. So it is obvious that most items in the Nordstrom store here in Canada would cost more so than the items in the Nordstrom stores in the US. In other words, most Canadians were paying more money for items, more money for the same items that they sold in the US stores than most Americans. So that's not a surprise to why the Nordstroms moved out of Canada. And also, I would say too, probably the delivery costs had something to do with the items being sold at a higher price in most Canadian stores. Because, I mean, they have to pay for not most delivery trucks, they have to pay for not just maybe the cost of the shipping, but also the cost of gasoline they pay to get the items to these Canadian Nordstrom stores. So that's got to be taken into consideration too. And the same thing happened with Target. Most items that they sold in most Target stores in Canada, the prices were way higher than we would have to pay twice as much, 2 times as much for the same items that are sold in most US Target stores. And I think the scenario played itself out in most Nordstrom stores, Canadian Nordstrom stores. So, and the items cost way more and we will have to pay 2 times the amount of money for the same items they sold in most US Nordstrom stores. Because, the dollar, you got to think about the dollar and the currency. This US dollar weighs way more, carries a lot more substance and more weight than the Canadian dollar. So that's got to be taken into consideration. I guess the Nordstroms, all the money they would be making here would be in Canadian dollars. And that's not worth very much when it comes to measuring currency. And I think Nordstrom Canada was, the whole of Nordstrom's was taking a big loss here in Canada, more so than if they ran officially in the United States. So it just goes to show that just because an American brand does well in the States doesn't necessarily mean it will do well here in Canada. Even though we're neighboring countries, we have similar cultures, speak the same language. The currencies are the difference. The economic currencies are what the difference. It's what makes the difference between Canada and the United States. The US, they have a bigger economy, larger population, and their currency carries a lot more weight than the Canadian dollar. So that says it right there. That's the tells the side right there as to why Nordstrom's decided to leave Canada. and basically just keep itself to the US market, which I think is profitable. They're making lots of money in the US. You can say the same for Target as well. They failed here in Canada too, and closed its doors and just went back to the US. So it's too bad. A telltale sign that Nordstrom's, I would say, 2014, they were just so excited about running their stores here in Canada, thinking their brand of business will catch on to most Canadians, but not knowing that most Canadians, I would say, we shop way differently from most Americans. And Canadians, I would say, Canadian customers are more, I think, we're more selective when it comes to shopping, especially shopping for luxury goods and goods, which can be very, very expensive here. Because you look at the exchange rate, most of the items in the US, while they cost less, cost more in Canada. So that says it right there. Okay, so far, no viewers. No viewers at all. If I don't get any viewers in, say, another 10 minutes, I'm going to shut off this live stream. I would say shut off this live stream. So we're past the 12-minute mark here. And it's a lot of work doing this live stream. But I'll talk about maybe something else. Sorry, talk about something else while I'm here. Yeah, I might do that. Discuss something else. While I'm here. Now, Nordstrom's, maybe they will try again in the future when it comes to branching out of the American comfort zone. That is. Now, I don't know why this is, because Home Depot, they are in Canada and they're able to stay in Canada. Lowe's is about the same thing. But Lowe's, they sold most of their businesses off and left the Canadian market as well. So Lowe's is another retailer closing its doors in Canada. And while Home Depot and Best Buy, they were able to succeed in Walmart as well. So not all U.S. retailers leave Canada because they study the market and study the consuming patterns of most Canadians and were able to stay. Well, most retailers were left the country. And I'm going to do a live stream of talking about of Canadian retailers failing in the U.S. market and American, because while some American retailers fail in the Canadian market. I think because there's more for me to discuss here about retail, doing retail business in different countries. So I'll just end this live stream in a few seconds, that is, which is right about now. Good night.